Experience in Tokyo series. My name is Keita. This is Boris. We are students from Keio University Graduate School of Media Design, and also part of Professor Ishikura's project, which is called the Space Project. And tonight's topic is the role and purpose of business to make money. And so the event will begin in just under 5 minutes, so please stay tuned. We would like to just give you some information about the event. So Boris, could you tell us a little bit about why we do this event?
Sure. So what we're doing here is called the Davos Experience in Tokyo. And it's a special event, seminar series. And it's a passion project of Yoko Ishikura to help young leaders develop skills needed to act actively on a global stage. And what we're doing here with the event series is to create a space where people can actually practice to take part in like intellectual discussions in English. There's not too much opportunities to do that in Japan. And secondly, the purpose is that people can meet and network with people with similar interests and ambitions. And we are having now the third session, and every month we're gonna have one of these events. Up to 60 people are in this room right now, but we broadcast live every event also on the Ustream to open up this event for more people. So live streaming is an important kind of experiment also that comes along with Davos Experience in Tokyo. We are live streaming every event and we're experimenting with different kind of formats to engage the viewers coming in from the internet. The usual experience you have is that live streaming can be kind of boring because all you can do is basically watch somebody else speaking and comment. What we tried already on the second session was to actually react to the comments from the audience. And today we're gonna take it one step further, and we are actually hosting like a part of the session with you, Keita, and me, and our audience, and talk. While the others are working in groups, we have our own little group here.
Yeah. So as you said, today we really want to have an active dialogue with the online participants, with viewers, wherever you are. So please feel free to send us your comments via the comments section on the Ustream website, which you are presumably watching right now, and also through Twitter with the hashtag Davos Tokyo. And we will also have an active discussion session at around 7:35 Japan time, so that's about 30 minutes from now, where Boris and I will facilitate the discussion based on your opinions about today's topic, which is again, is the role and purpose of business to make money. So I believe the seminar will start in just a moment. We hope to hear from you, all of you very soon. So please stay tuned. Thank you. We'll see you soon.
Are we seen still?
No. Now I have to do. Do you have the feed with?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the number 3 session of Davos Experience in Tokyo. My name is Yoko Ishikura. I'm a professor at the Graduate School of Media Design at Keio University. And I'm very happy to see all of you. And we sort of debated whether we can accept so many people or not. But I sort of said, well, not everybody usually shows up. So I think we have enough chairs. But I may have lost the bet. I bet with one of the sponsors here. But welcome to the number 3 session. And this is the Davos Experience in Tokyo, which is a part of the space project that I run at the KMD, Graduate School of Keio Media Design. We started the first one on February the 1st, and that was the first session called the Davos Experience in Tokyo. How many of you, by the way, attended the first one on February the 1st? Okay, and that was right after Davos conference, and we talked about what was discussed in Davos in January, and we also showed video clip of Clay Christensen via the interview, and we also had what's his name, Daisuke Iwase, who's one of the young global leaders who just happened to be here, and who was just talked about his experience in Davos. And this time, the second time was on March the 2nd. That was done as a part of KMD Forum. How many of you were at the KMD Forum on March the 2nd? Okay, that was the part of the KMD Forum, and it was we did two things. One of them was global debate, and we had two rounds. The first one was in Japanese, and the second one was in English, and we live streamed that one as well. And we debated. The first one was that IT innovation reduces to job. That was the topic. So we had yes side and no side, and we argued. And we also invited the audience to come up stage and argue either yes or no. And the second one was in English, and the topic was future schools need no lectures. And we had yes and no side, and that was done in English. And we also live streamed, so we had some people commenting from Europe as well. And after we did twice, and mainly the first time, we had to sort of ask people not to register because it was full. And a lot of people wanted to have another opportunity to debate global agenda or any issue in English because they don't get that many opportunities. And I also, it's my personal passion or personal mission that I would like to develop as many young people as possible who can operate, who can participate, who can express their views on the global level at the international conferences so that we can have a better world. And I think it's quite important that all of you will have an opportunity to do that. So we decided to continue naturally, and we decided to make it as part of the space project. And let me talk a little bit about the space project. We do have a lot of real projects at KMD, and that is the core part of the curriculum at master's program at KMD. And each one has some kind of technological dimension, and the number of students work with the faculty, and we try to engage the outside external organization, in this case Wilson, and we try to make some kind of social impact. So those are the four components of the real project. So we decided that the Davos Experience in Tokyo as part of the space project. The space project is that we try to create the space to connect the divided world. Yes. Yes. It's a space in terms of ba in Japanese, and at the same time I like this sort of universe space, because what I like about the space is it's expanding exponentially, and that's the kind of thing that I really would like to create. And we started with the space sub-projects, which starts with SPACME. But that sort of plan went out of the window pretty quickly. So we have sub-projects, some sub-projects, but Davos in Tokyo is one of them. And because we wanted to empower learners, the people who would like to learn, so that they can do it any place and anywhere. And that's what we plan to do. So we're going to have the Davos Experience in Tokyo every month, starting in February. And so this is the third one. The fourth one is going to be in May, and we'll let you know when it is. And it's going to be held in here. And we'll pick the topic, usually. Or we may ask you to select the topic of your interest. So that's how we try to run this thing. And this time we decided to do the role and purpose of business to make money. But before we get to that, we live stream this event because a lot of people who have a job or who live somewhere distant want to join, but they can't. So we decided to do the live stream, and this time around, I think we are a little more sort of ambitious, and we do have a facilitator mainly for those who are watching online, so that they can, those who are watching online can participate. Because last time when we were discussing, they just kind of had to watch, and that was all. And I had an interview and so forth. And we also had this tweet, so they can make comments, and it says the hashtag is Davos Tokyo. The one thing which I would like to make sure that we cover is that if any one of you does not want to be shown on live stream, please let us know. If you have a project whose deadline is tomorrow or something, and the team members are working, but you're here, you're going to be in big trouble. So I really would like you to let us know if we can't shoot you, not shoot you, right? But so that we don't make a lot of trouble for you. Anybody? I think with at least one person, I think claimed identified himself or herself not to be shown. So, but that's about it. Okay. So we will live stream this event, and what we are going to do is that rather than talking about Davos per se, I would like to go right into the discussion, and we'll show probably three video clips of Mike Porter. And the first one was in Davos in January 2012. That was part of the interview that he did, and I was there in Davos. So I remember how he talked about it, and we'll show you that. And then next we'll show you the Mike Porter speech at another conference. And then the third one talks a little bit about the shared value and so forth. So what we would like to do is just show you the video first, and then we have a general discussion for a little while, and then I would like all of you to break out into several small groups so that you can discuss in each one. And each table, I think depending upon how many people show up all together, each table may have like 6, 7, 8, and you decide who is going to lead and who's going to report, and everything is going to be done in English. So you have about half an hour, 25 minutes, half an hour or so to discuss among yourselves. And then I would like you to come back, and we will go into each group so that each group can report back what they have discussed. So that's a very typical sort of discussion and breakout session in Davos or any other conferences. And the reason why I do that is because it's one thing to listen to, and listen to the lecture or the interview or watch the video. But what's very important is that you practice yourself. And I would like to make an environment, create the environment so that everybody can practice what they want to do. So that's the idea. So I really would like each one of you to speak up. If you don't say anything today, by 9 o'clock, you're in big trouble. We're not going to accept you next time. We'll keep an eye on everything, and we'll say, this person didn't say anything. He or she just came to the networking event and ate and drank. Then you're in really big trouble, because I know which one to sort of identify and so forth. Okay, so make sure you speak up. And make sure, without the experience, without the practice, you'll never learn how to express yourself, how to ask questions, how to argue back and forth. So that's the whole point, okay? And so let's just start off with the video, if I can figure out what to do. This is something.
The basic idea of which we call creating shared value is about actually applying the capitalist model to addressing issues in society. Issues like hunger, issues like environment, issues like water, issues like health.
I've heard a lot about corporate social responsibility. There's been acceptance that companies somehow have something beyond the immediate profit motive. Well, how does what you're proposing differs from that?
Well, I think we're in a sort of a logical progression. I think that CSR is an effort in companies to be. They need to contribute to the community. They need to comply with community standard. The idea of shared value says that no, that there's a bigger opportunity. It's not taking money from capitalism and investing. It's actually rethinking how we practice capitalism. And the CSR approach to low incomes of small farmers, the CSR approach is fair trade. Fair trade is about making sure that those poor farmers get an adequate price for their crop, and that's being good. It's fair for those farmers to get an adequate price for their crop. And yes, that'll improve the incomes of the farmers. But that's not a sustainable solution, and that's just redistribution. This other model of procurement is very different. It says if you act as a capitalist, if you're a smart buyer, if you help your supplier improve, that allows tremendous improvements in the farmer's income. The farmer can increase their yield, they can increase their quality, they get higher prices, and you raise their income not by charity, not by being a good corporate citizen, but you actually raise their income by being a better capitalist. It's a win-win. By serving a societal need where there's a gap or a limit, or where people are unhealthy, or where people are not having adequate shelter, or can't get clean water, or all the things that we've traditionally defined as social issues. By using capitalism and business thinking to kind of stretch and solve those problems, then shared value is created.
You developed the concept, and I think you developed particularly three areas.
One has to do with the product itself. The shared value idea says, well, there's many social dimensions that can be embodied in product, and there's often customers whose needs that have not been served that are available. So there's the product opportunity. The second opportunity has to do with what I call the value chain. If we look at that value chain with a kind of shared value perspective, again, we open up new opportunities to save energy, save packaging, have more beneficial impacts on our suppliers that benefit them and their employees. And then the third bucket has to do with what I call a cluster. That is the businesses and institutions around a company. And the better that ecosystem is, the more effective and competitive the company can be. So the idea here is actually to get capitalism working not against the interest of society and community, but actually integral to addressing the problems of society and the community. If we want to change the attitude of the public to business, it's going to be based on what we in business do, what we achieve, what we accomplish. And this is a way of getting businesses thinking about that question.
That was a part of ideas for action, ideas for change, excuse me. And that was the edited version of the 15-minute one-on-one last year. And last time when we saw the questions, that was the same thing. So one journalist or whoever, reporter, has an interview with the person, with the authority, for 15 minutes or so. And this Porter's version. It used to be 15 minutes, but they cut it down to 3 minutes for the essence.
I think we are ready to take the next big leap here. And the next big leap is what I and Mark Kramer have come to call creating shared value. Corporate social responsibility is fundamentally about minimizing negatives. protecting against risks. Shared value is about pursuing opportunities, not just social opportunities, but economic opportunities. The concept of shared value is about improving societal performance or issues with a business model. We tackle hunger or poor nutrition not through charitable donation, but through creating products or services that we can sell and make a profit. We address environmental issues not as complying with all the standards that exist. We address environmental issues by inventing new ways of having a profound impact on environmental performance at our customers or our customers' customers. That's the concept of shared value. Shared value is actually addressing social problems with capitalism. Now, capitalism today is kind of a dirty word among many in society. But the shared value perspective says that actually capitalism is the most powerful tool we have to address societal needs and societal problems. Because if we can use capitalism, if we can find a solution with capitalism that allows you to actually do this work with a business model, then we have the magic working. It pays for itself. We don't need charitable donations. We don't need to raise more taxes to pay more government money. If we have a business model, we can scale. If we can help 100 people, we can help 1,000 people. If we can help 1,000 people, we can help 1 million people, or 10 million, or 100 million, or 1 billion people in addressing whatever their problem is, their problem of nutrition, their problem of poor housing, the problem of whatever the problem is that we tackle. So the question is, is this a real opportunity? If we can find ways of addressing these issues with shared value, then we can actually solve societal problems. There's a wonderful example of Intercontinental Hotels Group, one of the leading hotel chains in the world. I think they have about 2,000 sites, and it turns out that the second highest cost of a hotel is energy. And they've had a multi-year campaign to try and measure and test and improve every conceivable idea they can come up with in terms of how to rethink how they use energy within their operation. And they've rolled that out across in all 1,900, 2,000 hotels, and the best ones are now, the leading edge are now at 25% reduction in their second highest cost. And that's not just checking a box in terms of, are we a good environmental citizen or are we green? This is an active reinvention process of their value chain, how they're actually operating their hotels. And they've unlocked amazing amounts of economic value. This is probably the biggest amount of economic value they have generated in the life of the organization in terms of a single idea that has a transformational impact on their bottom line. This is the opportunity of shared value.
rather than showing you another video, I think we can stop here. And I just wanted to mention something which has taken place very recently, and that is, as you know, Margaret Thatcher just passed away. And she was, I think, judging from how the stories of her legacy has been reported, it is pretty clear that she really changed the world. And I think she's one of those who really felt and did something to make the society much better, or to rescue, to save UK from this sort of dismay. And I think what she did was just create the environment. I mean, I know that she stayed in the power too long, and she had a lot of issues later on, particularly, but she's the one who created the environment where the private companies as well as individuals can prosper, rather than government taking care of a lot of things. So in that sense, I think there is quite a bit of common factors, common elements running through. One of the things that Mike Porter says, and I tend to agree, is that the business is the only one who can create value. The government can distribute it, but they really cannot create the value. So as the topic is the role or purpose of business to make money. And I know there have been a lot of criticisms of the businesses. And if you talk to some of the members of the Regulatory Reform Committee in Japan even, not only in the US, then they say the business is evil. And I'm not sure how many of you are in business. How many of you are not in business? Let's put it that way. Okay? So majority of you are in business. So how do you defend yourself? Can you defend yourself? Or is this, do you accept this notion that business is an evil because they are just interested in making money? Even though you may not make so much money, but you may still feel that you are a part of this community whose interest is only staying and make money. So let's have a little bit of a discussion. Do you agree with this sort of topic? Is the role and purpose of business to make money? How many of you would agree? Okay, how many of you do not agree? Okay, that's very good. Let's start off with those who agree. Give me some argument. Give me some reasons. Go ahead. You don't have to stand up. Yeah.
I think it's the basic function of a company.
Yeah.
That, of course, they don't want to make money.
Yeah.
They want to survive or thrive.
Okay, so that's the basic foundation. Okay, who else? Go ahead. Yes. Okay, how many of you not agree? Okay. Say a little more.
Making money related, how we can create value.
Yeah.
To our
Yes.
so that's why our business purpose is very valued and
Okay. Who else? Go ahead.
Can I say I agree with this a bit, that I agree that this role of business is to make money,
Mhm.
but the purpose of business is not to make money.
Okay.
So, of course, money.
So the question is wrong. That's what you said. Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, that's okay. That's good. Yeah.
So the role of the money is the most necessary element in the company to have activities. So this activity should provide the purpose of this company.
Yes.
Is, for example, providing some. It's naive to say, but provide some better world.
Okay.
Better product,
Yeah.
better
Yeah.
service.
Yeah.
Then it needs money.
Okay.
Yeah, that's why. So I think the role is to make money, but the purpose is to make money.
Okay. I will come back to that. Go ahead.
Essentially, companies making money,
Yes.
businesses making money is on behalf
behalf of its constituents, it could be the employees, it could be the customers, and it could be the equity shareholders.
Okay. So if they don't make money, the stakeholders are the ones who are going to suffer.
Right.
Okay. Who else? Go ahead.
Exactly the same, but these are investors who come and
Mhm.
have been under the developing country.
Yes.
And this time more than because government can make a building,
Yes.
hardware, but actually know-how and everything,
Mhm.
it can be only possible.
Okay. Okay.
So money is one of the measurable tool
Yes.
that the company is going well or not.
Okay.
It's quite simple.
Okay.
measurement.
Well, if we can think of any other metrics other than money, then do you forget about money?
That first priority, primary purpose is to the primary measurement could be money.
Okay. Let me just go to the other side. How many of you do not agree? I think there are quite a few. Go ahead.
Finance to sustain the company.
Yes.
Business is necessary
Yes.
to make money. But so the business, developing new business, starting new business. So first priority is that put print the footprint.
Yes.
For so contribute to people.
Yes.
Or so change the world.
Yeah.
I think.
Okay. So, particularly for the startups or for the new innovation, yeah, making money is not the,
Yes,
the
yes.
purpose. Okay. Who else? Mm-hmm. Yes. Okay. What do you mean by social value? Yes. Okay. Let's leave it at that because it's. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's kind of the same as what she has been saying.
Mhm.
But and I think our purpose is to make a better world and make people more happier.
Mhm.
And I think making money is just one of the means
Okay.
to be sustainable and to grow and further increase the scale.
Okay. Go ahead.
Legally, I think you're not seeking profit. You are not actually performing the role of the business.
Mm-hmm.
So therefore,
Okay. Are you a lawyer?
yes.
Okay. Good. Excellent. Who else? Go ahead.
Yes, this is exactly the same opinion previously said, but I have to say something.
Yeah. Okay.
On a day-to-day
Say
business.
something a little more though. Don't say the same. Yeah.
Yes, day-to-day business, I'm totally focusing on money.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I think the more broader perspective, I think business exists to make people happier and more wealthier by resolving addressing an unmet needs of the customer or society. Yeah.
How do you respond to the ones that, even though you have a good idea, the concept, but which is going to make the world a better place, but you don't make any money, particularly at the beginning? How do you feel about like Amazon, these companies, which really didn't make too much money at the beginning? How long do you go on? Is Amazon creating the better world? How do you sort of reconcile these things?
Yeah, talking about Amazon, I think that they convinced the investors sense that they can create value, they can create not only they can create the social value, but also they can create profit.
Okay.
They convince them.
So just wait, be patient.
Yeah.
We'll make money over the long run. So if you stick to us, we'll make money. So it almost sounds like, okay, if you can convince the investors or those people who can contribute, who can make an investment for you, for your business, for your concept, that's okay. Is that what it is?
I think at the same time, you need to convince your customers
Mhm.
that you're providing the new service and new values to
Yeah.
them.
Okay.
So I think you need both, that you convince customers in order to create profit from
Yeah.
there, and also you need to convince your investors for them to
Okay.
as long as possible.
Okay. So you have at least two stakeholders, two groups of stakeholders whom you have to convince. And is the money the only way to make sure that you keep on satisfying the customers or satisfying the investors? Yeah.
I think if we think about it from the perspective that we take money out of the equation right now, and we resort to barter, a person with a good banana will be able to trade something more than a person with a bad banana. So the idea is businesses are there to basically compete in this idea of value, and then the ones who give higher value tend to get more to trade other things. So if you remove the equation of money, you tend to have this, it's just where the value is, that's where people go.
Okay. So, what?
So, profit, I think, is not the issue.
Okay.
It's we need to sort of follow where value is.
Okay.
And the way that money was made was it makes it easier to follow where the value is.
Okay. So we try to measure the value, whatever that means, and social value, economic value. But the way that we can measure it is through money. Okay. So is there anything else we can think of to measure value?
I think money is one because that's what customers are looking for by providing some benefits. However, if the companies say, let's say, damaging the environment, then that company may not be successful because of the share value is not increased. So I think money is very important and that's a very critical element of the success. However, there are other things like the environment or community service or things like the CSR, responsibility.
Okay. So money is not the only one measure to measure the impact. Okay.
I think money is, of course, a good measure, but the length, sustainability of making money is also important.
Okay.
You cannot keep growing, forever.
Yes.
Then what you can see is that if you have a service or a product that is known, everybody wants it for a long time, then you can be sustainable.
Okay. So not just a one-shot or short period of time, you want to make sure it's sustainable. If that's the case, why do people get so excited? I mean, if you take a look at the investment, are there any investment bankers in here? Okay, you got to say something. Are you just interested in making money? I mean, some of the bankers seem to get sort of not hooked, but get caught in this sort of spiral of we have to make more money, we have to make more money. Why is that? Is there any way we can avoid that?
Somebody else already said that money is part of corporate value. But I myself don't think money is for the corporate value.
Right. Okay.
So when you think about corporate value, money is one of the most important ingredients. But you have to think about the how can I say value not measurable with quantity. Also, you should pay attention to the quality of the corporation.
Okay.
How much the corporation provides the high value added product to the client. So that kind of value is another important part of corporation.
Okay. Okay, I think it's about time for you to break out into the other groups, but let's go. Yeah.
I have to say, I wanted to say, in my perspective, it is important for a company to make profit, to do many other things, like investing in innovation, research and development. But money should not be the purpose of the fund. Now, a lot of issues we've been having with firms or with the public, actually, the kind of outcry that we've had on capitalism is because of this long-held business paradigm of profit maximization and shareholder value, which has created the conditions that we have in companies. We have shareholders, and they have given agency to the executive to run their business. Now, those guys develop plans that are very short term, and for that they cut corners to meet those objectives. So you cannot value the success of a firm purely in financial terms. It's more complex than that. So profit maximization is an issue. You need to have sufficient profit to run your business, to do other activities that will bring value into the firm over a long term.
Okay. So you need the profit. I mean, if you're losing money, you're going to go bankrupt.
Exactly.
And a lot of people are going to suffer, including customers, not only the employees, but the customers who want something. And as a matter of fact, I just heard that Microsoft is going to stop providing support to XP. And I also heard that 40% of the business still use XP. So what does that mean? Kind of things. But anyway, I think one of the issues is it's very difficult to measure the value. And each party, each individual has a very different definition of value. So some people may find this is of a big value, but others may not be. And that's why we have this auction and all these other things, right? So it's going to be very difficult to figure out a common measure to measure, to figure out whether this is of value or not. And I think that's where the money comes in. But at the same time, we really need to think about the sustainability, long term. Who are we, what are we thinking of? And what kind of metrics we use? But anyway, that so far is a pretty good discussion. So let's break out into, let's see, how many of us here do you know? No. How many? 55? Okay. So that means if we divide you into like 7 groups, 7 or 8, what you could do is that each one has a table and the whiteboard that you can use. So you can take your own chair and go wherever. And if some group gets too big, we'll just move some people, okay? And you have about 40 minutes. 40 minutes or so to discuss among yourselves. Make sure you select the discussion leader and also the reporter who is going to report. And the topic, I would say, is pretty much up to you. You can argue, you can do the debate on this particular topic, or you can argue, you can discuss something else.
I think we're on. So
Great. So
take too long. So just quickly introduce yourself, what your name, and where whatever else, and then go right into the discussion.
So I guess welcome to the Davos Experience in Tokyo discussion session for our online participants. Again, my name is Keita, this is Boris. So we will be discussing this given topic, is the role and purpose of business to make money. So for those of you watching right now, we would really appreciate it if you can write either yes or no, and your reason why on the comment section or on Twitter. and we will try to incorporate your ideas onto the board from there. I guess while we wait for our first comments, maybe Boris, you can talk about what you think. Some of the key points that were raised during the general discussion that we just had. And
I think there was a lively discussion. I don't know exactly how much the audience in Ustream understood from the audio, but there were so many comments, and many were saying yes, definitely. Many said no. Which comments did you find especially interesting?
Well, so one of the main sort of conversations that we had today with the general discussion was about the metrics. How do we measure value? How do we measure what is the best way to measure value? And within the system that we've had for over 400 years, that has been money, right? So, and that has definitely created value over time. But at the same time, now we see a trend where all of a sudden, social responsibility becomes an issue and a very hot topic. So,
and kind of what I heard from a few people was like trying to create a better world, right? Mm-hmm. A better world. That sounds so lovely. But what do the people mean by saying this?
I see. So,
like we try to create a better world, but I wonder who actually starts a business with that purpose, quoting their purpose.
So one of the issues here is in terms of trying to create a better world. This was raised by Michael Porter in his video too, but about sustainability in terms of a consistent growth of wealth, which will lead to a better world. And in his idea of the CSV, he basically says that capitalism and business is the only way that you can actually generate value. Business is the only way that can actually generate value and sustain it.
Yeah.
So,
it's saying that capitalism should not be working against the social values, right?
So we would really appreciate it if we can get some comments from our viewers right now.
There was one comment from a viewer. His name is 11 Ryu 11, right? Mm-hmm. Business is to make money, but it's just order issue. Money eventually helps society. So he would quote, yes, purpose of business is making money, but I think he adds that there are a few purposes, right? And how do you order it? Like what is first important and what is second important and so on. And and after all, money will help the society. And it would be interesting to hear how does it help and what are the other purposes of business.
So it's also interesting to look at the very practice of business itself. I mean, as Ishikura Sensei mentioned earlier, someone once said that business is evil, right? And business has sort of this bad rap to it. Business has this sort of bad name to it, and the reason why is some businesses are not exactly consistent with this idea of being socially responsible. So, is it really true that having this profit motive is important, but having this having money at the very core of business, at the very purpose of business, is really the right thing to do?
The thing is just businesses are evil, but the thing is like the behind those businesses are always people, right? And the decisions they have to make, they are so complex and so much influence from many things. So definitely they don't just have this one, how to say, this one question they have to ask themselves, but they have to think of those so many people who they have to please, who they are responsible to, and after all, it's people who make the decisions, right? But it's just super complex, and often a political structure also within those businesses, which make it hard to always make the right decisions, right?
So again, I guess then the question is, people who are in business, who are they responsible to?
Yeah.
And we can look at different stakeholder groups that businesses or business people.
So who is it? So we have the other people in the company.
Of course, the employees.
Right?
We have the shareholders. We have the customers. We have the communities. We have nature in some ways. We have suppliers. Everyone in the supply chain.
Some would say stakeholders is also the competition.
Yeah. But at the same time, some might not consider all of these very important stakeholders that business people should be worried about, because the main stakeholder is the shareholder or the proprietor of the business, and to them, the main sort of purpose or their purpose or role is basically to make as much money, maximize the profit.
Responsibility.
Yeah, that is one very, very huge responsibility.
Yeah. Let's see if we find a comment of one of our viewers. It's very hard to keep up here. That seem to okay. The internet connection is kind of slowing down when we see your comments, so don't worry, it takes up to 30 seconds until you actually see what you said. So Rio 11 has another comment. So I'm preparing setting up my own company. For me, it is to challenge myself besides money. And to make this world better. So Rio also mentioned once again this making the world a better place. But he is taking the risk, right? He's taking the risk to set up his own company.
So, in a sense, trying to do better for the society is a very risky business.
Do you think this adds more risk?
Well, that's sort of a question that we would like to ask.
In that case, the company wouldn't like to avoid.
One thing that you can consider is the competition. And does really, as Porter might say, does really engaging in creating shared value, does it really do good for the business? Is it really something that is realistic versus idealistic? So that's sort of one question that we would like to ask.
I'm just writing next. I'm writing also Rio back another question. I'm asking him actually. So, is making world a better place as a motive? Adding. As a motive, actually adding a kind of risk. Is it in risk? What do you say? Responsible. To say that, to have that as a motivation.
But the point is that competition is fair or not unfair. If it's unfair, it's a good, right? So do you think you are doing a good?
Is Rio the only viewer of us commenting? Thank you, Rio, by the way. So I continue my sentence. Is making world a better place as a motive actually adding risk as an entrepreneur? So Rio, what I just wrote in the usage stream is you take already risk by starting up a business, and hopefully you get a return for this risk that you take. But I'm asking, like, is making the world a better place that you kind of quote as a motive of yours adding risk to you as an entrepreneur? Kind of interesting. Like, you know, it's like if you don't want to take risk, you you get a job in a company, and you can reduce your risk by doing that. Those who actually take the risks to their own business, in my point of view, the return they get is valued in the risk they take. More risk, more return. No risk, no return. Then again, if you act responsible, if you act sustainable, are you increasing your risk or are you reducing your risk? That's kind of what I'm interested in.
Yeah.
What do you think to this?
Well, in terms of competition, companies have generally just engaged in CSR, which is a little bit going more, it's more progressive compared to philanthropy or charity, but it's still something that is sort of a side effect of making a lot of money. It's sort of a reaction that a company has. And so, and it's not sustainable in that way.
I think what CSR was before was like kind of a marketing purpose, and now CSR, the purpose of CSR and how it only works is when it's kind of aligned with the strategy, right?
But what was happening was that for a company to take on CSR, they needed to be profitable. They needed to make a profit. And they would have to set aside amount of money, perhaps in their own expense, to do something good for the society, which is not a sustainable way of doing it. Michael Porter basically says in the video, farmers who get a fair trade deal is not sustainable versus a farmer whose community is completely leveraged, and they're able to yield more, they're able to create more value with their business. I mean, that's the whole point of CSV, right? But does it really connect? Like, does really embracing CSV, does it really work? Is it really practical? It's sort of very idealistic in some sense.
You have examples? You have example for a company that does it well?
Of a company that does CSV well?
Yeah.
Well, I believe very recently in Walmart. Since 2008, they have been very rigorous about their environmental footprint. What they found was that actually reducing the amount of material you need or resources you need to create packaging for their products, it can actually be beneficial towards both the environment, their footprint, as well as their business, because they're basically cost cutting. So this was one way they do. They basically tried to integrate CSV or being responsible into their value chain.
Okay.
So that's one example.
And they do it because it's not only good for their reputation, but it's good for the business as well.
Yeah.
It helps them make more money, right? The saving costs.
But then again, does that apply to all industries? We don't know, right?
But like just from my understanding, like a company like Patagonia, are they doing CSR activities, or is this a whole other approach to that?
Well, companies like Patagonia, to my understanding, from what I have sort of learned from what they do, they're very much looking to reinvent the value chain, reinvent basically the way they do business from the beginning, from procurement to supply side, everything. They would like to reinvent all of this. So, and they're doing this by using cotton that is more expensive, but is still organic. It's much more much better for the environment as well as in terms of working conditions. It's much better
they,
for the.
they managed then again to put it on
Yes.
top of the price, right? They
And
they buy more expensive, but they sell more expensive as
yes,
well.
of course. Yes, and the question now is the question now is, will they be successful 5 years from now, 10 years from now? And we have to keep in mind that this is a private company; it hasn't gone public. So again, they don't have the same amount of pressure that they might have from their shareholders to create a profit. And
Rio was writing.
okay,
Not to interrupt you, but so Rio says, yes, nothing ventured, nothing gained. I'm afraid this is out of the original topic. Right. So he picks up the risk thing, right? That I mentioned, and I believe that this might not actually be related to the original question anymore. So it's the purpose of business to make money. So she can come over if she'd like to. Can we have her for a second? Yeah. So we should not drift away from the topic, but like say nothing ventured, nothing gained, no risk, no return. And how is this related to our question? Is it not related? Is it too far away? Is this something in the core?
great.
Maybe we can pass on the question.
Yeah,
right away
so
to you.
we have Professor Ishikuro with us today.
You get a seat.
Oh, great. Can I? So, hi. I hope many of you are watching. And with these two gentlemen, sort of, it looks like it's a soccer or baseball team, game or something like that. So, how is the reaction so far?
So we've had a conversation with one of our viewers,
Yeah.
who is basically talking about when you start a business as an entrepreneur, where the motive is.
His challenge, he tries to challenge himself to, besides the money, to make this world better, right? And what I asked was, so by having the motive of making the world a better place, are you adding more risk to yourself as an entrepreneur? And I kind of would like to pass on this question to you. So, if somebody has the motive to improve the world, is he adding risk to his business, or is he reducing risk to his business?
I think it's the risk is an uncertainty, right? So it's the sort of it's essentially an uncertainty. So whether you're trying to make the world a better place or not, I don't think it has anything to do with the risk. I mean, if you want to make a world a better place, you want to create some kind of value. And but value, as we talked about today in the session, it's very difficult to figure out. But if you're trying to build the business or business model, you need a revenue stream, because you have some investment, and there are a lot of things which is going to cost money. And in order, unless you can make it sustainable, which means your revenue stream is much bigger than the cost, it's going to be very difficult to sustain. And so you end up not having, the money going up. And then even though you want to make the better world, you can go on for a short period of time, it seems like.
So I guess another question that was raised was, when you take Porter's CSV, it seems like the industries that he is talking about is quite specific and limited. Not all industries can take on CSV and still compete in the same environment. So what kind of industry do you think will be successful in this type of?
I don't think it's necessarily industry specific, and I think there are many ways that you can create value. And the important thing is that what I really like about Porter's argument is that it's an opportunity. It's a business opportunity to create the shared value, rather than just a negative. This is something that I have to do, kind of. So if we can figure out the way that you can create more value, not only economic value, meaning money, but making some kind of impact, I think that's what we're trying to do. And I don't think that's necessarily limited to certain industries. You can provide the mechanism or platform or anything of that sort, but some of the things I think is difficult to make it sustainable, particularly at the beginning for the startups.
Kate talked also about Patagonia, and it's privately held,
yes.
And the owner is taking a lot of action in this topic, and he said that by him doing the business, he first of all creates no value. He creates a lot of waste with production and the logistics and so on. Then he makes money for himself, but that is not value creating. And that value that he creates with those clothing for the customers is nothing compared to the value that he destroyed. So what he just tries to do is actually just limit a bit the impact, the negative impact that he has already. And then until you make actually a positive impact, that takes up quite much that you get eventually to that point. That was an eye-opener with this kind of point of view.
Yeah. Well, when I was at ICS, we had a manager, director of Patagonia with us, and I think he explained, what the motivation and so forth. And I think what you really need to be very careful of is that you really need to do something that you love, to provide the products and so forth. At the same time, you need to be aware: are we destroying the environment? And I think that's where the innovation comes in. If we take a look at the scientific discoveries in the past, I think that is the energy restraints or the constraints force us to come up with something new, some new mechanism to make the best of, to make the more efficient use of these limited resources. And that's how the scientific knowledge has been created, the innovation has been created. So I think that's where the opportunities are, in a way. So we really need to go out of our box and think of the ways, okay, if we do it, the business in the traditional value traditional way, we're going to end up creating, destroying the environment, whether that's water, that's environment or whatever. But is there any way that we can reduce that? And I think that's where the opportunity comes in, and the innovation. And I think it's very interesting because the innovation, some people think that innovation or the new ideas come when you are sort of relaxed. And I don't really believe that. I think you really need to be under pressure. You just think about it so much, and you feel it's the dead end. And that's when the new ideas come in. It's generative.
We were having comments before the event because we had a poll on Facebook. I think 10 people commented. 6 said no, purpose is not making money, and then 4 said yes. But there was comments underneath. One person said he believes the majority of entrepreneurs don't start from that point of view to make money. I was surprised by this comment, as I thought the most businesses get started because somebody want to make money. We were coming then to the example of Elon Musk. Did PayPal earlier, became eventually rich to this. Now he does SpaceX and Tesla. We wondered if his motivation of making money has changed throughout. He certainly does something that he loves, being an entrepreneur, but I wonder, what do you think? Like do people start a business?
Well, personally, my parents started their own business because they had to survive. And I think most small to mid-sized businesses or family-run businesses. These are businesses that are the main purpose is to make money and to feed both themselves and their employees. And so comparing entrepreneurs by necessity to those that have ambition, it seems like there's a bigger population of entrepreneurs that just need to make money in order to thrive in this system that we have right now.
I think we're talking about two different groups, people, and we tend to talk about the entrepreneurs as the latter, rather than not the ones to survive, but to create some kind of, or to realize your vision. But I think I think what I hear often lately is that there are some people who just want to start the business simply because they want to sell it out and make money for themselves. And I think that doesn't sound like too much fun.
They might think, they can do that first, and after that, once they did the success exit, then they can do the good things.
But I think, if it's no fun to lose money, I mean, there's no question about that. So there are some people who just want to do, who like certain things and who want to make business out of it. But unless the business is sustainable, you cannot continue. It's not an ongoing concern. And so I don't like the people who say, okay, I would like to have a cafe because that's what I love. But if the cafe is losing money every single day, I don't think that's going to be fun.
I think there are many opportunities for one to start a business. It can be a cafe if it's a passion, and it can be an e-commerce. The thing is, like, in the cafe you're gonna work 8 to 10 hours a day.
Right, yes.
And in the e-commerce startup you're gonna work 8 to 10 hours a day. It's your time is limited. Now, what do you make out of this?
Absolutely.
I don't know. So people measure probably the success of their stuff.
Yeah.
There was another comment. Benny Hanamoto's education is the most important, I guess. Just ask her if she could explain a bit more. But so she's bringing education in.
Yeah. How is it related to the education?
So keeping motivation for work well enough is very important. Will, skill, value. So how can you do something that you love? How can you keep your motivation up? She says will and skill and value. And there's not money mentioned basically. So probably Ben Hanamoto says no, it's not a purpose. But it would be great if we could hear a bit more how you think of education is related.
Yeah. Are you talking about, I guess, it would be very interesting if she's talking about education as an opportunity for business or for sort of CSV type of business.
Or is it about educating those who do business?
Right, yeah.
That it's not just about money.
Yeah.
I believe, in different cultures, different social environments, this question would be answered quite differently, right?
I mean, my question, which sort of came up during the discussion as well, is that why do people get sort of bogged down with this ever-increasing desire to make more money or to grow the size? I think a lot of companies need to grow. They get, no matter what, we want to grow. And I can sort of see that point to some extent if we're just talking about the growth. Because you want to give an opportunity to those people who are coming in. And unless you have a growth, there won't be any more positions. But when it comes to money, you can make so much money, but what do you do with it? It seems like, people get, I need more.
Like an Apple with 500 billion in bank, right? You can't even imagine how much money that is that they are having safe.
Is it maybe something about risk? To reduce as much risk as possible to keep that cash pile.
Probably so.
You know, when you don't have an idea for a new product,
Yeah.
you know, you can still have some
At
time.
least, probably so. But money sitting in the bank or something doesn't sound like a good an idea. But you have to take a risk if you want to invest. So that's a catch-22. I mean, that's the risk that we're talking about.
Then again,
But anyway.
I think the US they have this pledge. I think Mark Zuckerberg and Peter Thiel and you know, many more they signed this pledge that they will give away the majority of their earnings. Like, but that's the question. Like, can you just make the hardcore business on that side and then again just give away the majority that you earned? Does this weigh up the way you? I don't know. Then again, different approaches to giving money, right? Mark Zuckerberg invests rather in social entrepreneurship, in schools, but expects also business kind of orientation, not just into charity.
Very true. I mean, like the Gates Foundation is just a very good example. Yeah.
And
Rather
Warren
than
Buffett,
just-
I think, the ones who
Yeah.
initiated.
Yeah, but I mean, Gates Foundation, as I understand it, is taking very much of a business point of view, business-like approach, which is like, okay, monitoring, measuring, are you really making an impact, and things like that, which is much more like, measurement of the business rather than charity. And charity or these nonprofit organizations, I think partly because they have so many stakeholders with different interests, and it's rather difficult to figure out how they are doing. As we talked about, it's very difficult to measure, their social impact. It's not profit per se.
You don't have it
So,
in your
yeah.
balance sheet, right?
Yeah, and so each stakeholder group has its own definition of value, and so that's going to be a very difficult thing.
This is an interesting point. How can you more effectively bring metrics and measurement into social impact?
Yes. I think that's a very important issue.
Is somebody dealing with this?
I think we have had quite a few approaches, but I don't think we have ever come up with any specific. And measurement is always very, very important. Unless we can measure, we cannot make, we cannot really take an action. And
I
the
believe-
matrix is very important.
Yeah, so I guess I believe there's one, or there's a couple of attempts to try to measure something other than money, which is social impact. And one might be, I believe it's called the happiness index, which a lot of countries have adopted.
Yeah.
What do you feel? Is that an effective way to measure, happiness of
Happiness of the
of
business.
the
I think happiness is much more related to the society, it seems like, rather than the business. And, I think triple bottom line and all these things are the attempts to try to measure the different aspects of value. And yet I think there was a sort of argument against it as well. So I don't think we have any particular, sort of well-defined. And I think that reflects the difficulty of the value. What do we mean by value? And same thing was true with the stakeholders. Some people may find the value in something like, you can have a family, enough to eat, enough shelter, but others may need private jet and things like that. So there's a big difference in terms of what do you mean by
perhaps once there is a concrete measurement metric set, a lot of businesses will follow that way.
Yeah, I think that's,
and so the question is, who's going to take the leadership? Is it going to be the public sector, the government? Is it going to be watchdog organizations that have to can become sort of these or third party watchdogs basically? Or is it going to be the private sector companies that
Yeah, well, that reminds me of our discussion in Davos. I think it's either in Davos or some Davos, we have this thing called Global Competitiveness Index, and we are trying to include sustainability index and social index. And so we had this sort of private discussion, brainstorming, how do we measure social index? That was very, very difficult. Sustainability environment is much easier, more or less, air quality and things like that. But social is extremely difficult. And I remember that I was pretty frustrated, and I think everybody else was in the same way.
I think maybe you can learn from how some businesses start to do an accounting also for something that was difficult to measure, that was innovation. So innovation accounting.
Yes.
Introduce innovation accounting to your company, and then you can understand that you actually create value. It's not measurable with profit right away, but then they start, for example, seeing how much of the profit is made with products that have not been existing like 3 years ago, and this kind of stuff.
Yes. Like for innovation, how do we measure the innovation, the degree of innovativeness? And we use like patents, we use like, the percentage of new products within the 3 years and whatever. But I think these are still not, enough, because what we call innovative companies cannot be pretty much measured by these things either. So, and the same thing also with this environment. I think we tried with the environment, how do we measure environment and so forth, and we tried different ways. And I think we're moving along, and yet it still is very difficult because it's an evolving thing. But as we talked about, metrics is very important because that's how people behave.
You came up with this question for today's event, and is this provoking on purpose? Why did you ask the question in the way you asked?
It's because I think the capitalism and particularly the business community has been under a lot of pressure. But as I said, I think the business plays a very significant role because they are the ones who can create value. And I really do not want people to forget that, rather than government. And I think we often talk about we need a bigger government, and public sector needs to govern things like that. But I'm more of a business, private sector person. And I really wanted to sort of make sure that people think about, where does the value come from, and the matrix issue as well. And money is the measure to figure out how the business is doing, and how that's the way that the business can become an ongoing concern. So that's a very difficult issue.
And you think there's a yes or no answer?
I don't think so. But I think I like the way that Porter talks about, because he sees it as an opportunity. And that really encouraged people to come up with a lot of innovative ideas, rather than, okay, we have to follow this. And but that's not that easy.
One Facebook user, he said, no, it's not a purpose of business to make money. That's the job of the banks. And so businesses, they create value. And he brought a time factor into it. Like they should try to create a lot of value in a short time.
And I think majority or more and more people think or feel that they are working not just for money. They are working for something higher purpose. And so that's part of the reason why I wanted to include, purpose of the business, role of business, which could have been a little bit of a tricky, as one of the participants pointed out. Role and purpose is quite different.
Because if they start kind of seeing the payment as the reward of their time, that's not as much worth than their time actually is, right? They're creating much more value on the business side than they earn, right? And so they should measure their impact they have on the business rather than valuing their time in the payment they get.
So I guess we'll be going back to the
Yes.
report back session.
Yes.
So
Yes.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Why your company is trying to make sales productivity?
Thank you for those who commented.
Yes, thank you very much, and we hope to hear from you again during the report back session too. We will be active with our social stream. So
I'm just happy because today we did not leave the viewers alone. There was something happening here. I don't know if it was interesting to watch, but if you have any recommendations, any comments, then please let us know how we can make this kind of sessions more fun.
Great. So we'll see you.
Yeah.
Sure.
Thank you.
What I would like all of you to do is we're going to follow each group. So I would don't bring chairs. It's going to be too much of a mess. So just bring yourself and come to this side when this group report back. And each group will have 3 minutes to report back. Hi. Okay, everybody come over here. Okay, please. You're on. Go ahead.
So, can I start?
Yes.
Okay, prior to start this discussion, we had kind of consensus that as a fundamentals of capitalism, money or profit is necessary. So this is our start. However, we felt some value, which is equivalent or something more than money. So what is value? How can we measure that value? How can we pursue value? That's our argument. And as the examples of the values, we have, for example, happiness, satisfaction, or something socially good, which makes people positive, or which makes people motivated. These are the new values. However, in order to keep that value, money is important. With money, companies can create these values. Then these values create money. There is a We have one example, microfinance. There are some successful cases of microfinance that lending money to poor people, and then poor people are motivated to do small business. Then they pay back the money to the lender. This is a good example. However, we have failure cases that poor people went bankrupt, even lending the money. So in these cases, we still need a continuous payment to the poor people. It's a kind of charity. It's a failure case, which Michael Porter didn't support on the video. Also, we discussed regarding the target of value, whose value that value will be. There are many players, such as customers, investors, employees, including management, then these players are linked. It's a kind of spaghetti structure, which causes which. We cannot simply say, but it's linked to the money. Then, so we have a we still have a mechanism of value and money. That's the one.
Okay, great, thank you. Let's go to this group. Can I have the microphone, please?
So first our discussion started with what is purpose of business money, or is it the social impact? Then on the yes side, we had an answer saying that money is purpose, and the market competition leads to the innovation eventually. However, on the flip side, the no side said that the social impact actually drives the business and creates money. However, when he pointed out the fact that money is translated to particular value at the end of the day, and if the world does not value money, meaning if money it has no value, meaning 0 yen, it means that the money itself is not the purpose of the business. So then we came to the discussion of not asking whether the purpose is money or social impact, but how we can combine this money purpose and social impact purpose into a model so that we can leverage the business efficiency and at the same time tackle the social impact, the social issue that we have today. And I think that was the message given by the porter when we saw the video at the beginning. And it was interesting that everybody agreed that the old business, even in the old days, both monetary impact and the social impact was considered at the same time. However, because the world is changing so rapidly today, we have companies where the focus has just been on the money side, and there are also companies or maybe non-profit organization where the focus just has been on the social impact side. And that's not going to be sustainable in the future. And we concluded again that the integrated model should be what should be focused as a sustainable purpose of the company in the future. Thank you.
Okay, great, thank you. Let's go to the next one.
Okay, so we discussed if the purpose of business is making money, and there was a intense discussion, and like we had both agreeing and disagreeing side, but the basic point is for agreeing side is the company should earn enough money to survive, and so that should be the main focus of the company. They have to survive, so they have to earn money. And on the disagreeing side, the argument is like it's not the money. You provide the value, and that's why you receive money. So value comes first. But we agree that it's kind of connected, and it's like chicken and egg discussion. So yeah, it's both connected, and it might depend on the organization you focus on. So there are many kinds of organizations. So one is like company, and the others are like NPOs or those kind of organizations. And maybe a company might emphasize more on agreeing side, like you have to survive as a company. But if you focus on NPOs, maybe they focus more on the value they create. And there was another interesting point that we now have other ways to appreciate the value an organization creates, like Facebook likes or Twitter follows, or a trust between a company and the client could be another way to appreciate the value. So maybe nowadays it's like not value is not necessarily equals to money. So that I think this is very interesting argument. And also I said, there are many kinds of organizations, but even within companies, there are many types. And so any company has to survive. So there is some, certain level where they can barely survive, and below that they cannot survive, which, which means there's no point doing that kind of business. But maybe the question is if an organization focuses on making the they aim to maximize the profit, or they don't really have to maximize the profit, but they, it's good as long as they can survive and they create value. So an investment banking might be the extreme of maximizing the profit, but maybe the manufacturing industry could be somewhere in between, because they have customers and they have to think about the values that the customers get, and they might think more on the society. And yeah, so it could depend on the kind of type of company. And yeah,
okay,
that's about it.
Thank you. Let's go to the fourth group.
So in our team, we were discussing probably each one of us our ideas and how we live in this question. But basically, most of us we disagree. But we give credit that capitalism has been the most successful model to create wealth. However, in our disagreement, we found those things that we give credit and those that we give not. We find that there are many threats. Like, one of the main points is like we think that it's not the role to create money. It's just one of the tools to measure the value we create for society. But when it becomes the human nature of maximization, the profit, that's when we broke the system. And we talked a little bit more about history, and we find out that the models has been like this for decades, and we find out that the problem also it's based on regulations. Some of these companies that have made their tons of money, well, they create their own regulations, or they even didn't have regulations, and that's why we have all these problems in our order values, like call it economically, socially, politically, and technically. So when we go back to the shared value idea of Michael Porter, how we encourage companies to be more innovative to create solutions. Well, we believe that, of course, we need to create this platform to let the creativity go through, but we need to be as well objective, so not fail in a circumstance like, oh, okay, I'm going to save energy to be green, or or I'm going to do charity to be social responsible, or anything. But the main point should be like to keep our business sustainable in general. That is protecting our present and future generation in all the atmosphere. So coming back a little bit on the conclusion, is like we find out at the end that it's not about maximization. It's about optimization with good regulations, but taking account of the people demand. It's not only about governments and private sectors, those ones who are, no, it's also about people needs. And so we can make the efficiency to do the things right and face their real social demands. And this is not only about humans, but the whole environment.
Great. Let's go to the other side, over there. Yeah, thank you. Okay, here's the other microphone.
Okay, so I explained from the conclusions. So our conclusion is the purpose of the business is the purpose of this business is to sustain, to provide a good service, product, job, tax, to contribute to society. And then for that purpose, we need money. So we make the equal, like purpose is this, but actually making money. So in hands of making money is the purpose of the business. But before coming to this conclusion, we have a lot of discussion. So maybe discussion part is more interesting for you. And we have many background in this group, and someone from airline, consultant, and the solar panel, like energy, education, and car manufacturer. So each of the, like, yes, we have yes opinions and no opinion, and then each opinion got a point. So we cannot decide yes or no, and everything is true. So like yes opinion, money is the only measurable of the business, and the no is money is important, but purpose should be something else. But the difficult part is, so if are there any other measurable things of the business other than money? So this is the most important thing. This is the most difficult thing of the discussion. Then, so for example, we talk about like the other group, like microfinance. Microfinance is at the first level, they don't make money, but the purpose is to support people. But actually now some making money, and also some like opening the office in developing country. At the beginning, it's a bit difficult, but now they creating jobs and life of the local people, and at the end making money. So it's we have exact things that to measure the business, but we must have something else to show the business value to the business value.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you. Let's go to the next group.
Okay, so we also have a same result of our discussion, like what is the purpose of the business is not only money, but the value. So we start our discussion from making the definition of what the value is, and who for who, what could be the value. So, we thought like a value when we have a level. Like when we talk about our happiness or our value, what it is, for individual level, it's very diverse, it's very simple if only you are here. But when we talk about an organization like a company, NPO, or government, like all the actors here, so it might be more complicated, so it's more difficult to define what the value is. But we thought like okay, so we made a matrix. This made our discussion very hot. Thank you for the all the contributions. And this vertical is like for here we made a social, and here we made the economical, and for here like we talk about like income or GDP, like kind of these things. And we have all the actors anyway, government, company, NGO, NPO, but maybe we can plot somewhere here. Depends on what kind of value you have. So, for the use state, like maybe the company, like we are talking about business. So, the company located here, like more pursuing economically and more pursuing our income, making maximize it. But as Michael Porter said, like our value is shifting here, like more social. We should be more social, but still we need the high income in order to make our community members more happy. Like if we have a big company, we have employment, and we can make some other provide. And if we can collaborate with the government can distribute all the benefits properly, we could be happy. So, like, maybe the base of the company stance should be win-win. This is our conclusion, because used to be, if we only pursue economically, we were on the zero-sum game. But as the global agenda is now emerging, like environmental problem, all the things we have to be shared, we need to be more socially. So that means like we need to think about we need to pursue economical vision, and also we need to pursue social vision as well. So for that, our conclusion is like making win-win is the most important thing. And one more thing to add is like stay in the community and making the ecosystem with all the actors to maximize our happy and share the happiness. Thank you.
Okay. Next group.
Okay, our team, at the beginning of the discussion, we all agree that making money is one of the very critical element of the business, and nobody disagree with that. So that's the starting point. And we discussed that how can we, make money, and also our theme was how private sector or how business resolve social issues, like Porter was saying in the video. The business model can address social issues. So we discussed, kind of brainstormed, how can we do that, or how can help business to better address their social issues. And we talked about the process, and then we can identify opportunity. As already somebody else has mentioned, microfinance is one of the good examples. We can identify opportunity, as well as we can identify challenges or unmet needs, and then how we can fill the gap by delivering innovation, creating or developing innovative products and service. Then naturally it comes to the monetize. So that's how we talked about the process, and then we talked about recommendations, how or what can business better address social issues. Anger for incumbent business government. That means we have to identify the unmet needs, or have to identify challenges. Then deregulation. Government roles and relations prevent private sectors, prevent business to provide better service for the customers, but for the social. More entrepreneurial leaders, that's very critical. And networking among potential leaders. Somebody has a better idea, or somebody has great idea, somebody has money. So we have to connect by networking. Provision of risk capital, financial quarterly cycle. We talked about we need to change the financial reporting cycle from quarterly to annually. Then the last recommendation is we have to have better education for younger generation to encourage them to take risks and challenges. And we kind of ran out of time to reach the conclusion. However, I think we may be able to conclude our discussion by saying for this specific reason, by encourage people to better taking risks and challenge. I think we're all here, and I think we can support the business to provide better service for customers as well as social and address social issues. Thank you.
Hi. So we talk about three things, and I'm going to talk about first our conclusion, and then what we had in discussion, and then finally our point. So I'll talk about our conclusion first. Our kind of conclusion is try to make money, and then the good products come, and eventually it goes to the make people happy, or like the society, make better society, or to make for the happier. So I'm going to explain what he had in discussion. So we had a discussion about whether the purpose of the business is to make money or not. And then for the agree side, so there's employees, so we have to give them money. And also there's a lot of pressure from the investors to make money. And it's actually it's too short, and it should be a less pressure. And so I'm personally studying antitrust law, which means like there is the competition is needed. If there's no competition and a company don't work hard, and then no good products come in, and it goes to no to make the better work. So that's a point too. And for disagree side, our team said solving problems should be the main goal, not making money. And also, one teammate working for the medicine company, and he talked about he need to produce the innovative medicine to heal the people, heal the people. So, and we reach to the point, the balance is a really important thing. For example, for the investment bank, they really try to make money, but is it really good for the society? So we had a question. So the balance between making money and making a better world is important. So, and some teammates work in oil company, and she needed to sell the oil to get a salary and to make the company bigger. But on the other hand, for the perspective environment, is it really good things to selling a lot of oils? I mean, so that's kind of balance too. That's a balance. And also, we talk about the difference between CSR and CSP. Some teammates said CSR is just pretending to be just good company because, for example, Miss Bank, they try to make a lot of money and they donate some money for the profits. Is it really good things? I mean, they don't really contribute to the society. I mean, that's why he said it's a pretending. So the CSB might be a solution because they try to make money, but also try to make a better world. So in conclusion, our conclusion is try to make money and the good products, selling good products, and eventually it's make the world better. Thank you.
I'm gonna report. So Kate and me did this experiment with engaging the online community, and they could comment by Twitter or by Ustream. And to add to your comment, so there are a lot of companies who are kind of pretending. And what we had coming up was the example of Patagonia. They're not just pretending, but they have CSR linked very closely to the strategy. It's a private whole company, but like the founder says, by just doing the business, producing clothes and shipping them around the world, he's already value destroying, and then he should just try to kind of reduce all the loss, all the value destroying, reduce it. It's not about value creation. He tries to reduce the value destroying. Interesting insight. Then we ask the people, what are the reasons why people start a business? And most people, as we believe, start a business because they want to make money. We were talking about Elon Musk, who founded PayPal at some point in his career, making a lot of money with this. Then he started different businesses now, it's like SpaceX and Tesla. Companies where they are far from making money. They invest billions first. And but it's a matter of fact that everybody who starts a business, he takes a lot of, or she takes a lot of risk. And this risk should be rewarded somehow, surely through money. But question is, do you reduce or do you increase the risk that you're already taking by having a motive of making the world a better place? And the conclusion is, the point is just this: money is easy to measure, and if you find more ways of measuring actually the social impact, you might have more companies following this trend. Somehow innovation accounting was a way invented to finally measure innovations. It was also a hard thing to do, so now I guess it's the job to be done to measure the social impact more. And this is our conclusion.
One more point that just to add to that from our conclusions that we made. In terms of the takeaway message of Porter's video, we basically looked at business as an institution and how it's the only institution that can create wealth, apart from NGOs, apart from government. And right now with CSV, it is a huge opportunity for businesses. It's not a burden for them. It's an opportunity that they can take to create wealth. So this is one of the important factors that we had to.
Businesses don't make money. That's the job of the banks, one used to say. I think we can close with this, and thank you so much.
Okay, thank you very much. I hope you had a lively discussion, and those who were participating online had quite a bit of a discussion as well. And as you can tell, I don't think we had any right answer to the question. And I also have noticed that partly because the era or the age with the fast change and the globalization, integrated, connected, and with the device, may have worked somewhat to make us think about the social impact in addition to the money. And my question now is that it seems like some of you feel that there is a big divide between sort of for-profit and not-for-profit. Is that really the case? Can we integrate the two in one organization? Or is it something like, as long as the society or the world consists of a group of companies which are much more for profit and the other organizations which are much more for social impact, is that okay as a balance? And I thought it was a quite interesting question, because some of you seem to think that it really needs to be integrated in one organization. And others seem to say that, okay, you don't have to. When you can have this type of organization and the others as well, as long as we have both, the coexist. So that's a very interesting question. And I also thought that the measurement or the matrix is such an important issue. And if we can measure something, we can change the behavior and the activity. But if we can't measure, it's going to be very difficult. And partly because the social value involves different sets of stakeholders with a different agenda. It's very difficult to come up with one measure. And I was talking to, online and with the people watching online. We have this thing called Global Competitiveness Report at World Economic Forum, and that consists of a lot of items. And I think last year or the year before, we tried to incorporate sustainability index because the environment has become such a big issue. And we also tried to incorporate social index. And so we had brainstorming sessions. How do we incorporate the sustainability and social index? And for sustainability index, it was not too bad because we can measure certain things. But social index was such a difficult index, and we really couldn't come up with anything solid that we can incorporate into the competitiveness report or competitiveness survey. So I remember that, and that's how the social impact or social value is difficult to measure. But that doesn't mean that we cannot come up with something, because we have been trying to do. So I hope that this session has given you some ideas or some sort of food for thought. And when you get up tomorrow morning, you can ask yourself, am I going to the company simply because I want to make money, or am I going to make an impact in the society? So that's something that you might want to think about. And this is the third session. The next session is going to be held on the 10th of May. That's Friday, right after the Golden Week. And we're going to be talking about the leadership for the 21st century. Leadership has been the big issue, and in particular, I will share with you the Joe Maeda, who is the Dean of Design School, Rhode Island School of Design. And he used to be an MIT professor. And his background is like design and MBA and scientist and so forth. And he used to be a professor, which can say whatever he wants to say. But all of a sudden, he became the president, dean of the school, which he really has to have a different sets of criteria. And he talks about how the transition has taken place in his tweet and so forth. So rather than talking about like Ikujiro Nonaka's phronesis leadership and charismatic leadership, I wanted to introduce something a little bit different from the professor or the academic, which tends to play sort of single role to the leader, and try to give you, try to get us think about what would be the leadership in the 21st century. So that's the topic, and we'll have a website ready soon, and so that you can register if you're interested. And we will continue on, not just May, but June and so forth. So thank you very much for your active participation, and I hope you got something out of it. And I hope every single one talked at least once. And for those who want to join the networking event, you have to pay, but it'll be a lot of fun. We'll do it at Arc Hills. Thank you very much. And one thing is that those people who are working, who are taking the, who are shooting, doing all those Ustream and so forth are my students who are working on the space project. So if you could give them the big hands, I would appreciate it. And also to the Wilson Learning people, particularly Miura-san, who has given us the opportunity to use this facility, which is great, and take care of all the registration and the application and so forth. So if you could give them a big hand. Thank you very much. And to all of you, thank you so much. I hope to see you in May again.